Good day. I'm Martin Gago with Market Radius Research. It's Thursday, June the 8th, and we've got CEO Kip Underwood of Burcon NutraScience joining us. Burcon develops plant-based edible proteins from pea, canola, soy, hemp, sunflower seed, and more, and has over 290 patents globally. Kip joined Burcon about 6 months ago and has realigned and refocused the company. He's here to tell us about the company, its asset, and his plan going forward. But please remember, this is neither a recommendation nor investment advice. We're here to learn about the company. Kip, thanks a lot for taking the time to join us today. And given you're relatively new to the story here, why don't you tell us a bit about yourself before we get into the Burcon story itself?
Thanks, Martin, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone, depending upon where you are in the world. So I guess a little bit about me first. I've spent my entire career in food ingredients, and the vast majority of that in plant-based proteins, and specifically soy protein. I was in the plant-based protein arena long before it was cool. I've worked in both large and small companies, and in the end, I believe in plant-based proteins. I believe in plant-based foods, and really felt that Burcon was an opportunity, to build something special in a market and in an arena that I am both passionate about and care deeply about.
All right. And so which firms have you worked for in the past? How does your kind of resume look?
So if you go back in time on the soy protein side, there was a company called Protein Technologies International that really was the market leader and innovator in isolated soy protein. Grew up in that organization as it moved through various entities. One was Soleil, a joint venture between DuPont and Bunge. Moved into what's called DuPont Nutrition and Health, which was a suite of food ingredients across a variety of things. As I moved through the organization, cross-functional at the beginning, ran region businesses towards the end. Prior to coming to Burcon, I worked at a company called Benson Hill, entrepreneurial company who really is trying to innovate with Mother Nature and create value in food in the field and bring that forward. So when you look at the background of plant proteins, food ingredients, large company, small company, I put all that together, and that led me to the place I am today, which is very excited to be the CEO of Burcon NutraScience.
All right, that's a great overview on tons of experience in the food and specifically the protein industry. All right, so what you doing at Burcon then? Let's hear all about Burcon.
Okay, let's move on. Thank you, Martin. So the safe harbor statement that Martin already addressed, and let's start with our mission. I mean, in the end, we at Burcon believe in the power of plant-based proteins. We're passionate about it. We believe in the power of plant-based proteins, both to improve the health of individuals and, equally important in today's world, improve the health of our planet. Our mission then is to discover and develop innovative technologies that can be taken into the food system, and again, allow individuals to act on their desire to improve their own health and feel good about their food choices and how those food choices could impact the health of the overall planet. Okay.
All right.
So maybe taking a little bit of a step back, when I joined, as Martin mentioned, I joined Burcon about 6 months ago. And one of the first things we did was we took a look at Burcon's history, what has worked and what has not, and overlaid my experience and really came up with 3 strategic imperatives for us as we move forward. These are the lens with which we'll view decisions, deals, really guideposts, as it were. So 3 areas that are important for us moving forward. One is traditionally Burcon has, I think, been singular focused on single revenue opportunities. We need optionality. We need multiple revenue streams to move forward in the marketplace. Second, we have to get closer to customers or end markets. We need to know what customers think about our products. We need to know what works, what doesn't work, what's their view on where we should innovate in the future. We have to get closer to customers and markets. And third, even as a technology company, we need to gain more influence over the manufacture of our products. We need to ensure that when those products arrive at the customer's door, we meet, if not exceed, those customers' expectations. So really 3 strategic imperatives for us, and these will be kind of our guideposts and decision making as we move forward.
All right.
Now, from a market perspective, this to me is where it starts. Is there an opportunity? And we're excited. Really, at the market, we view the market in really there's two layers. So first is plant-based foods. Certainly, from our perspective, we are still at the very beginning of the plant-based foods opportunity. Again, consumers for a while have sought plant-based foods for their personal health. More and more consumers every day are now also understanding that their food choices impact the health of their planet, and they want to act on that. And that is fueling underlying demand for plant-based foods around the world. The second area of the market that we're equally excited about is what we call the food ecosystem. It's how the investment landscape has changed dramatically in the last 3 to 5 years, where we've moved from a highly concentrated space to lots of investment coming in with people wanting to improve plant-based foods. People want to change the food system. They want to drive more efficiency. They want to minimize waste. They want to make it more equitable. And for a company like us, what that does is that dramatically changes or increases the pool of companies that we can seek to partner, collaborate, license with. And so we're very excited about the market we're going after, and then very excited about the pool of potential collaborators, partners that are out there that we can work with to bring our products to market. Okay.
All right.
So in the end, we have a market, we have a value proposition. We have to have a product. There has to be a product that gets to in a customer's hands that enables them to take advantage of the benefits. And for us, that is a plant-based protein. And at our core, our plant-based proteins really, why they're innovative is there's the food scientists out there are the ones that create all of the food that we buy at a store. They innovate, they create, they try to meet our needs. And what our proteins essentially do is give that food scientist the blank canvas. They are neutral in color, are relatively tasteless, excellent solubility. So it gives them a blank canvas then to go create the plant-based foods, in this case, that we as consumers want, to create those foods that are relevant in breakfast, lunch, dinner, relevant in multiple eating occasions, snacks, or relevant in more convenient formats. And the building block of all of that are plant-based proteins. And really the goal is to give that food science that blank canvas from which to paint.
So Kip,
Yes.
Just to be clear on kind of where your proteins fit in, and I know I've seen the deck, so I know where it's going to, but just to be clear, let's say a company like Beyond Meat, where you're not going to be making hamburger patties or veggie patties, that kind of a thing. They're not like a Beyond Meats could potentially be, they're not like a competitor so much as they could potentially be a client of yours, where your clients are going to be buying your proteins and then sort of doing value added end products with them. Correct. Is that kind of where it fits in the whole supply chain?
Yeah, from a value chain perspective, so proteins are the building blocks of all foods, right? And they're in there for both nutritional reasons and functional taste, texture reasons, right? So what we will do is bring the protein with partners to market that then the food companies, the brand owners, could then go create the food that all of us then go to the grocery store or the restaurant to buy. That is correct.
Okay, and they're like, just thinking about it, they're kind of there's and I think you mentioned that the functional ingredients where maybe there's a soup or something and they want to add a little bit of a protein in there that makes it froth or foam, or not froth or foam, or add some texture or thickness to it, where it's not necessarily, it could be just a regular can of Campbell's soup where it's not sort of plant-based per se, but you're a functional ingredient that would go in there, and that's where your like purity and taste and solubility and low taste and that's where those functions or those attributes are valuable. Absolutely
right. So thank you, Martin. So in essence, the more blank the canvas, the more neutral the color, the more neutral the flavor, the more functional the protein is, the easier it is to incorporate into a food form for a nutritional reason or a functional reason. And so part of the innovation is to make it easier or easy for the food scientist to bring that benefit in and then still meet or exceed the end consumer's eating experience expectations. That's where the innovation happens.
So yeah, they look at it as an ingredient when they're putting it together. And so if it has a funky taste to it, which historically proteins have had, okay, if we use this, then we have to mask it with something else, and or just put a little bit of it and then add some other proteins into it. The food scientists are really kind of fancy chefs on an industrial scale, and you're trying to get them on their ingredient list to put it into their high volume, potentially branded food products,
or to now enable plant-based foods to go into a space that they don't exist in today. All right, to break down barriers. Like, again, for the consumers to act on their desires for plant-based foods, we have to address multiple eating occasions throughout the day, and we have to have more convenience. It has to be easier to act on that, right? That's going to require new and different protein solutions beyond those in the market today to work in all, just thinking about what you eat throughout the day, right? Breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks. We have to develop as an industry plant-based foods that work in all those, at all those times, right? And that was going to require new and different protein sources, which is really why we're not just excited about the opportunity, probably where we go to next, excited about our portfolio.
Gotcha. And so when I see things like high protein breakfast cereal, there's just a vegetable plant-based protein, but protein sort of in fitness circles and stuff, you got to be eating more protein. That's another area for them. Okay, how do we get more protein in our Rice Krispies, say? And let's talk to potentially Burcon about something like that.
Exactly. And what we believe strongly is when we move forward again to address consumers' needs, it's going to require multiple proteins. Protein has a different strength, they have different weaknesses, or it may require a blend of plant proteins to really get and meet that end consumer need. So we're excited about our portfolio, right? So if we start with pea, canola, and soy, what we have here is these are the or sort of like pea and soy and canola. These are the ones that are commercially proven. They've been made at commercial scale. They've been sampled. Customers around the world have used these, and the feedback has been, they allow them to do things they cannot do with other products in the marketplace. And then we move to maybe the ones that are newer, right? So I'll start with sun. So sunflower is the world's third largest oilseed crop. Right? It is grown for its oil, sunflower oil. The remaining byproduct really has not been used in food at all. There hasn't been an opportunity to value that up and use that in food. We have exciting technology. We announced about a month ago that we've validated a commercial process to make a sunflower isolate. Really unique properties, value adding a byproduct that in today's world it goes into low value applications. Has fantastic flavor, has the aura of sun, right? So from a consumer perception perspective, it's fantastic. And then we move down to the pieces that are in our portfolio, not quite as advanced. Hemp is an interesting one. Excellent protein source, small niche, but again, it's an area where there's opportunities in more nutraceuticals or high-end beverages, but there isn't what they're trying to, people use now is really a low-grade protein concentrate that doesn't meet the consumer's expectations. Our technology allows you to move that up to that isolate level, that purity, that functionality that can incorporate into food. We're very excited about that. And the last piece we call upcycled protein. So in the realm of reducing waste, value-adding byproduct streams, increasing the nutrition density of foods, we believe there's an opportunity for our technology to partner with food companies really on their byproduct streams to value add those up to increase the nutrition density of their existing foods and or create new products. So the real key is a suite of plant-based protein technologies that are truly innovative. They range from working in more mature markets that think soy protein all the way into brand new areas in sunflower or hemp. And they have the range of commercially proven today back to at the pilot scale, exciting to innovate for the future.
On the upcycle, could you give us some examples of where, like like there's some food manufacturing, you've got some sort of byproduct that there's not a lot of value for. Maybe they feed it to pigs or something because they got nothing better to do with it.
Sure.
And then you extract the protein out of that. Can you just sort of clarify, like give us an example maybe of where you could upcycle some protein?
Right. So I think hypothetically, here being the example, right? So I think most people are aware of alternative milks today. So you have the traditional soy protein, soy milk, then you have oat, almond, and various others, right? Well, there is a need or a drive out there to increase the end protein content of the finished product to be equal to soy milk or equal to dairy milk, right? For the various ones. Well, there's a couple ways to do that. You could add more protein in, right? Or could you recover protein from their byproduct stream and then put that back in the end product, right? So you have an efficiency gain as well as increasing the nutrition density and the position to your end consumer. So it's examples like that where we believe our technology has value, is relevant, and we'll be seeking those opportunities in the marketplace.
All right, back to the sunflower. That's not commercial yet, but it looks on the path there. And you mentioned that's the third biggest oil seed in the world. And just, I don't know, coincidentally above that is canola and soy, which I believe are 1 and 2 on the oil seed. And essentially you're doing what upcycling their seed husk, and I don't know the proper term for it. After you squeeze out the oil, you've got the remainder shell stuff, and you're sucking the protein out of that in a manner that doesn't destroy the protein, so it's still in a functional state, right?
Yeah, correct. Right. So the byproduct of those are typically called a meal, right? And they'll have varying protein levels. And the secret sauce of the magic that we have is how do you, in a cost-effective manner, purify the protein to a level that's that ISO level, that above 90%, as well as have the functional and taste eating criteria that you need to be successful in food. And that's really the core of our technology is taking these byproducts and working with companies to create a value-added, highly functional, highly successful food ingredient that, again, in the end, can enable food companies to meet consumers' increase and growing demand for plant-based foods.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Now, it doesn't do us any good to do all this research and science if we don't have a way to bring these to market. So again, we have value propositions across a variety of plants or plant-based proteins. And where we are focused at this point is then, okay, how do we monetize that intellectual property? How do we bring these to market, both create value and then in essence capture our fair share? And the key for us really is optionality. As we mentioned, each of these value propositions are playing in markets that have varying degrees of maturation. Soy has been around for decades. Hemp isolate doesn't exist today, right? So we need multiple options, multiple routes to market to monetize our IP. And so we look at a variety of options. So there's licensed, traditional. We can partner. We can build. Now, within build, there's traditional. Do you go, partner with someone to build a facility? There's also what we call the capital light model, which is bringing something to market via a contract manufacturer supply chain. So you partner with somebody, you take somebody's existing assets, add in our key unit processes that deliver our uniqueness, and then you can bring something to market much faster in a capital light model. We're evaluating those. And there's always the opportunity. Maybe somebody, an entity out there likes our technology. Maybe they're better equipped to bring it to market. Then we would evaluate selling a piece of technology if it delivered the appropriate value back to us. And the exciting part is not just the suite of proteins, the multiple value propositions, the multiple ways to capture value or monetize the IP. I go back to the food ecosystem and how much more expansive it is today than it was 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. And we think the combination of these things really is why we're very excited to re-energize our efforts to bring our technology, our value propositions to market, and really excited about the future.
You mentioned isolate. There's a specific definition, I think, of that term. Can you, what do you mean by a protein isolate?
Thank you, Martin. So traditionally in soy, a soy protein isolate is one that is greater than 90% pure protein, which all of our offerings are. So really it's an indicator for the purity of the protein. And then beyond that, then our technology also then imparts the proper functionality of the protein. Be the purity and the right functionality, then that is how you have success in food forms.
And if I remember correctly, if it's below 90%, but I don't know, maybe above 50, then it's like a protein concentrate. And there's some kind of different terms so you know exactly what kind of grade of protein you're dealing with.
So the industry piece, it's defined for soy. The traditional soy protein would be above 60 and below 9, above 65 and below 90 is a concentrate, right? Okay. And then what other plant proteins have typically done over time is they've adopted the same infrastructure traditionally. So typically your concentrates are 65 to 90 and your isolates are above 90%.
Gotcha.
Yes.
All right. So I guess to summarize this, you're just looking at buy, build, sell, partner, license. What's the best way to extract value from a particular protein? And you could do that. You could license it to the European market for one thing, and then partner with it in the North American market, or do something like that as well. It's
exactly. I think there's optionality in these, that none of them are mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
And the other key, and they all, different ones have different time scales and different capital investment. So it's really important that you look at the suite of routes to market, overlay the suite of value propositions, and make the right decision for Burcon at the time.
Gotcha. So would you, even though maybe there's a really great opportunity to build something out yourself, but it's going to take 5 years, given where you're at, maybe initially get some singles and doubles, license it out, get some initial stuff going, and then save your ammunition to really do another piece of the portfolio in a longer term, have near-term wins, and then build out some longer-term wins, that kind of a thing?
Absolutely, Martin. We think that's an and game versus an or game. Okay. We need to get our technologies, our products into the market, engage the market. We have some near-term opportunities that we're working on that we're very excited about, that will come relatively soon, right? And you still need to go and look for those major opportunities, those step changes. But again, we looked at, that's an and situation, not an or situation.
All right. Okay, thanks.
Okay. And none of this works if we don't have the people capability, right? So the technical expertise over 250 years of combined process and plant protein research capability at our technical center. These are people that eat, live, and breathe plant proteins and plant protein processing. Really exciting. To overlay my business experience, and then we have the suite of experience and capabilities we think to execute our strategy. One small example of this, of a strategy change recently, particular to our technical expertise, is a few weeks ago we announced that we're going to begin leveraging our technical center for contract research or scale up pilot work with partners. And people ask, well, why are you doing that, right? Well, how about your own research? The first reason we're doing this really is to engage the market, right? I'm a huge believer in, as you engage the market, as you demonstrate your capability, you meet new people, you find other opportunities, you find other ways to collaborate. And we're really excited to really get our expertise and our technology out there in the market today as a way to fuel overall strategy.
Can you tell us more about your technical center? It's based in Winnipeg, I believe. And what does it kind of look like? How many thousand square feet? How many scientists you got there? A little more details on that.
Well, so I think rather than the square feet, it's the unit process capability that it has, right? So the ability to bring in almost any oilseed product you can think of, the ability to separate the oil into your protein fraction, the ability to then various unit process, centrifugation, membrane processing to purify or change or impact functionality, and then the ability to adjust various function parameters and then dry, and then get to really pilot scale quantities that are commercially relevant for folks. So really any organic plant process, we actually have the technology and the capabilities to mimic. and can really be that conduit for companies where they have an idea, they're working on the bench. Well, how does this work at the next step? Or they've got it worked out and they want to evaluate, well, how do we scale this up? How do we validate yield? How do we validate throughput? How do we validate the fluid dynamics of our offering? Those are the things we both have the equipment and the people to help execute those trials. And we're excited to engage the marketplace along those lines.
And these are your employees. You're not sort of contract outsourcing.
These are our folks.
No, your
Correct.
folk. Gotcha.
Our people, our equipment, our expertise.
All right. Excellent. Okay. Thanks.
Thanks. I think we round it all out. We call it Burcon 2.0. It's a bit of a new beginning for us. And we're tremendously excited in the end. We have this suite of innovative plant-based proteins that are better solutions in the more mature areas. Think soy and pea, new to the world technology in a hemp or a sunflower. We're excited to bring those to a marketplace that is growing for plant-based foods. It is in its infancy, and we're excited to bring these to an investment or plant foods or investment food ingredient investment space that is seeking partnership, that is seeking collaboration, which aligns very well with the core of who we are. And we're looking forward to bringing these to market and making our Burcon 2.0 strategy a reality in the marketplace.
All right. All right. Thanks a lot, Kip.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we are getting some questions from the audience, so please keep them coming. I'm going to budge to the front of the line here and ask another question. Over the last few years, you had a fairly high-profile investment or partnership with Merit Foods that ended up not working out so well.
Right.
Can you give us maybe just a very brief description, kind of what happened? Where is that at, and maybe kind of lessons learned?
Well, I can certainly focus on where it is, right? So the Merit facility, the assets are currently owned by the banks, and there is a receiver that is working through a sales process. It's in the public domain to sell those assets. There are active bidders for that. They're in their process. We are still actively seeking partnerships and working to see if we would be able to bring an offer forward that would be motivating for the banks and or the receiver. The second piece that we would say is we view Merit as a route to market for us, a very good route to market, but one of other options. And then the third way I would view Merit is, in the end, the facility was purpose built for our technology that is patent protected. And however this turns out, we believe there will be an opportunity for us. If it's us, that's great. If it's not us, to work with or partner with whomever buys the facility, to work together to possibly bring products to market. Maybe it's work together to contract manufacture. So there's many steps left in I think what's going on with the Merit assets, and we're tied to those very closely, and believe in the end that we'll have a role to play that is yet to be determined.
All right. And Merit Foods still own, it's in receivership or whatever the term is. They have a license to use your technology. So whoever buys the assets, one of the assets is the access to that technology license. Do I have that roughly correct?
Yeah, we own the technology. The license is transferable. There are some off ramps on the license that really require, if we went down that path, it'd require for us and whomever the owner was to negotiate a path forward, which we're be excited and willing to do. In the end, I mean, what we're motivated to do is make sure that our technology products are in the market so that food companies can take advantage of those, and they reap the rewards in better products, and we reap the rewards with ongoing business. So we look forward to partnering and working with whomever that may be.
And you can't disclose too much of that license, but if someone acquires the assets and the license and starts producing your proteins with that through your license, you get a license fee or a royalty stream off of that. So that would be a revenue, still whoever happens to own it, that would be a revenue producing asset.
Correct.
For you.
Yeah, it would, Martin, and our license has a royalty stream attached to it, right? So if it worked out that way, we're excited about that as well. And again, we view the merit asset now as part of our Burcon 2-point strategy. It's a route to market. Yeah. It's a good one, but it is not the only one. It's a route to market for us that we'll continue to evaluate, like we're evaluating other routes to market we've discussed.
Okay, there's someone's got a four-part question here. So someone's asking if someone acquires it and they produce proteins, they'd have to pay fees to Burcon, correct? If they would produce your
well yeah, the short answer is if they use the technology that's there that falls under our intellectual property, which that's what it's designed to do, there would most likely be a licensing arrangement which would then have a royalty. Yes.
Okay. All right. How long will it take Burcon to break even without merit, in years or months?
What we can say is on that one is, I guess most people know, we just completed a private placement fundraise. Excellent vote of confidence from our existing investors, believing in the Burcon 2.0 strategy and investing in that to enable that. So we have funding to execute our plan. We're excited about that, and there will be milestones on our plan that we will be able to make public yet in 2023. And I think as those come to light, people will begin to see our pathway, not just to break even, but our pathway to being a profitable ongoing concern.
Gotcha. I guess there's a lot of, you don't have a clear, you can't be giving any revenue guidance at this point. Right. You're in the optionality phase of things. And I guess if you did end up acquiring the Merit facility, that could change your capital needs as well as, okay, then you're going to have, if you decide then to operate the plant, you may need additional funds for working capital. But if you don't get it, then, and you go on the licensing path, that would require a lot less sort of upfront fees. So
right. I mean,
a lot of scenarios could come out of this.
Certainly, if you get into acquiring assets or investing in assets, right, to build something beyond a license or a capital light, that's a different capital structure, Merit or another location, mind you. And we're working on those options, and we'll, when the time comes, the opportunity comes, we'll be ready for it.
Gotcha. Is it possible that Burcon's proteins are too expensive for the market and they're not selling cheap enough, and you're not selling enough because they're priced too high, as the shelves are filled with cheap proteins?
Was a lot in there. I think in the end, it goes back to your value proposition. And the core of your value proposition has to be, do you enable a company to be a food company to be more profitable? And if you do, they want to do business with you. And if you don't, they go to somebody else, right? Now, more profitable has multiple layers to it, right? More profitable can be you enable them with your technology to break into a new food product. That's new revenue. That's new to the world profit for them, right? Price means less when you can do that, right? If you can, the food companies will say that it's fairly easy to get somebody to try something once, trial. Relatively hard to get somebody to achieve repeat. Twice, right? So if you bring something to bear that enables a better overall consumer experience and an increased overall repeat purchase, again, then price is less of an issue. So it's really understanding how do you drive the customer's profitability, being able to communicate that and deliver against that. And at its core, our innovation does that. So that's a long way of saying, no, we don't believe that the price of our offerings are a barrier to being successful. In fact, our offerings create real value and drive profit for our customers, and that's why they're seeking them out.
And actually, whoops, I got rid of the last question. But there are lots of cheap proteins on the shelf. I think the person said, you're not selling a bag of Burcon pea protein down aisle 3 at your local Save-On Foods or whatever. You're selling it that's going to end up in a fancy box of cereal or something like that. And they're looking at it, okay, we want this functionality, this taste, these marketing claims, this branding stuff, and you're competing with other technologies or solutions out there. And then that's where sort of the competitive marketplace comes in. How much value add does your product have? Where
Correct.
does it fit in? What are the competition doing, and so forth?
That's correct. And where the most value is typically in that equation is when you can work with a food company to enable them to do that something they cannot do today.
Yeah.
Because then there really isn't a comparative, right? And that's what innovation is all about, right? It's about helping a food company address a consumer need that they cannot do today or cannot do very well today. And our innovation does that. And when we do that and do that right, there's tremendous opportunity, both for the consumer, the food company, and for us.
And sorry, I had a question that just popped out of my head. There's more questions popping up here. You mentioned you're close for an important deal with one of your patents. Could you elaborate?
What I can say is we laid out our strategy, and we talked about there's multiple plant protein value propositions and multiple routes to market. What I can say is within 2023, we will have substantive information for the marketplace, achieving some significant milestones along those lines.
All right, so you're busy working away.
Yeah, and I think the essence of it is it goes back. I think Martin, the analogy you used with singles and doubles. Others would say low-hanging fruit, right? There are things we have been working on for a while, really since I started, that are just good fits, and we're looking at creative ways to get to market. All right. So those are the types of things when, the milestones we will be able to communicate yet this year, while we're pursuing possibly those bigger, new to the world ideas that obviously take more time to achieve.
Well, what can you say about Burcon's perception in the food ingredient market? When you phone up, or one of your, like a big company like a Bunge or a Nestle or a food processor, and say, hey, I'm Kip from Burcon, do they say, oh, hi, Kip, what's Burcon? Or do they, Burcon's been in the plant protein space for quite a while, sort of the OG of plant protein here. What is the company's reputation? Does it have one, or can you talk about that a bit?
From my experience, I was aware of Burcon before I joined here, right, as a plant protein innovator. And in essence, I think that's Burcon's reputation in the market today, that Burcon is a true plant protein innovator, and was probably innovating and was probably way ahead of its time, right? Was innovating in plant proteins 10 years ago, long before we had this plant foods revolution, certainly long before we had large numbers of consumers seeking and understanding that their food choices affect the health of the planet. So what we're excited about is we have that strong technical reputation, and really, I think in some respects, the market has caught up with us, right? And now we're had that strong technical reputation that gives our innovation credibility, and that's meeting a marketplace that is ready for it because consumers are seeking those types of products.
All right. Do you see having any further collaboration with Nestle?
I wouldn't name any one company. I see collaboration as core to who we are. And one of the things we're excited about is we really haven't engaged a full faith effort, the entirety of the market, with our technology in several years. And we're very excited to engage the marketplace with our technology, with our value propositions, to create value and bring products to market. And certainly Nestle is the world's largest food company, which somebody we want to talk to, and it's not limited to them, no. So we're excited to engage the marketplace in total.
All right. Now, regarding your patents, are Burcon's patents easy to copy? So if I open up the patent filing, read it, could I go in my kitchen, so to speak, and do it myself? And is that the case, or is there a lot of sort of technical trade knowledge behind it, and how are you able to protect those patents?
So we're very confident that we have a very robust intellectual property strategy. Patents are a piece of that. and not the only piece of that, right? So we have a broad intellectual property strategy that protects our investment. Embedded in there, you have patents that have product claims, you have patents that are related to process claims, and then you have trade secret intellectual knowledge or property that you keep to yourself. And when you layer process patent, product characteristics, application, and trade secret, that becomes the totality of how you drive your overall patent strategy to ensure you protect your technology. And we're very confident and very confident in that, and highly robust in third-party reviews. We feel pretty good about that.
Your first protein, I believe, was the canola protein, and that is when I met the company over 20 years ago. Are those patents expiring, or is there a risk of that, or have you been able to, I'm no patent attorney, but sort of layer on additional things to that to sort of extend the life of them, or is there a risk of some patent expiry happening in the next little while that could harm Burcon?
So the short answer is there's nothing imminent, right? Over time, before me, and the company's done a very good job using means to extend, add on, build on the patent estate and expand it beyond even the products that we've listed here today. So it is robust, going back from the soy canola days into the products that the plant proteins you see here today, and there's a portfolio behind those that's not for public knowledge yet, as well. So,
all right. When will you need more money from investors?
Well, I think that depends on the strategy we execute, right? So what I mentioned is we have a runway to execute our strategy. And we have a runway to execute the strategy. If we think about licensing, if you think about going to market with a capital light contract manufacturer piece, we have the funding to execute all of those. Now, if we get into a build situation or a buy situation, right, that becomes a different capital structure. And we have ongoing dialogue with various parties on, okay, if that were to come to pass, how would we fund that via debt, private, or public? So it really depends on, what is the route to market and what is required, and we're working to be prepared for all options.
And I guess part of that goes forward if you have, let's say, a more capital heavy requirement, but then you look at your cost of capital and markets are tough right now, that may not make sense. It may kind of make the capital light models look more attractive.
Correct. I think the key is to understand your value propositions, understand the food ecosystem, and have optionality both in time and investment in how you bring things to market. That's why the optionality, I think, is so crucial to our success, and why we're working very hard to ensure we both build that out and we execute in that manner.
All right. Would Burcon have to create another facility to support a company like Starbucks non-dairy milk and creamers? I don't
I don't know that I understand Starbucks overall demand, but if you take a step back and say, alternative milks, non-dairy creamers, those are certainly growing categories, right? Those are certainly areas where plant-based proteins have a role. And those are areas where, in particular, those factors on our plant proteins, neutral color, bland flavor, excellent solubility, that ability to put that creamy mouthfeel, those are the types of areas where the features of our products, the innovation behind them, are highly, highly relevant.
You've referred to this before with your portfolio approach, which I think is that kind of makes sense. But I guess going back and like in Burcon's history, I don't want to get too much into it, but Burcon really seemed to swing for the fences. We're going to do this one project, I'll focus on that, and that's going to sort of be a company maker. And going back to my comment to singles and doubles, you're trying to get lots of irons in the fire, so to speak, throwing in another type of analogy there. So you're going to have lots of, hopefully in a year or two, have lots of revenue streams, lots of opportunities. So if one stumbles, you don't have to sort of start from the drawing board again.
Yeah, I think the key is that we want to have options,
Okay.
right? The key is that we have more than one egg in our basket. And that's, if nothing else, because launching new things and innovating, creating is a hard thing to do. And you sometimes things take more time or less time. So you need optionality to ensure you can be successful in the marketplace. And that will be a key focus of ours moving forward.
All right. Will we see a comeback of Clarisoy?
We are excited about our soy patent portfolio. We're excited about what it can do. The Clarisoy offering, I think, was taken to market 10 to 15 years ago. And what we're working to do is say, okay, how is that innovation relevant in today's market? And generally, today's market is more exciting than one 10 to 15 years ago. But specifically, how is it different in today's market, and how do we bring that back? And we believe there's some pretty exciting opportunities that we're going to explore.
All right. Well, we are almost an hour into this, and we need to wrap things up here, Kip. So I appreciate your time. And one final question. I know you can't get too specific on things, and you've kind of alluded or indicated this. What kind of news flow should we see coming from the company over the, let's say, through the remainder of the year? I presume in the relatively near term, we'll hear some sort of news about merit. And could we hope for some partnership or licensing news before the end of the year, or some commercial kind of arrangements? Or what types of news do you kind of hope to get out by year end?
We feel pretty good about if you go and thinking about the routes to market we discussed, right? We feel very confident that we'll have substantive milestone updates on routes to market, how we're going to move forward inside of 2023.
All right, Kip, that was great. It's great getting an update on a long. I've known the story, Burcon for over 20 years and followed the history, the ups and downs. So I like your strategy. I think it makes a ton of sense what you're doing. All the best to you. I'm really hoping to get you back here, and as you figure things out, get deals and so forth going, just see how the company progresses. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Martin, and thank you to all those who listened in and brought forth various questions. It's important to us to have dialogue with the market, right? Both to articulate who we are, and so people understand who we are and where we're going. And we appreciate the opportunity. And just thanks, and we'll speak again soon.
All right. Thanks a lot, Kip. Have a great day. Cheers.
Cheers all. Bye.